Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to Hands Across the Water. As I said, this last Monday, you never know what's going to happen when we come back on here. There's that much happening. The world of Rangers is absolutely insane. There's been two people from the club was in a hotel with supporters and everything after an away game, and then we've had a manager who had to get in the back of a car to get away from Falkirk. It's been crazy, a crazy, crazy week, but it's ended with Russell Martin no longer being in charge of Rangers, and I think I can speak for everyone on this panel and probably everyone that's watching tonight that needed to be done. It
I,
probably should have been done a while ago,
I,
but it's been done. That's the main thing. But we'll get all into it. Baz is going to read out something to us in a few minutes here. A statement that's just been put out from Pratt Murat and from Andrew Kavanagh, which is a very interesting read. So for any of you who haven't read that yet, just leave that for 5 minutes and Baz will read that out to us. But I think you'll actually enjoy uh, listening into that because I think a few people have admitted the mistakes, and that's all we asked. But before we get into it, Frankie, how are you,
hello.
my man? From Rangers
Uh,
now, how are you keeping?
all right. It's been an interesting 24 hours. What we were saying off air yesterday was interesting, and now with the development today, as you're going to talk about in a minute with the statement from Rangers, which I quite like. But yeah, all good, and a happy place with Rangers are now.
Well, if you were asking me that yesterday, Frankie, about this time, I would have been saying, "Oh, I don't think so." But it shows you how quick things can change, mate. What about yourself,
Absolutely.
Baz? What's your thoughts on everything? Just briefly, what's been happening the last
Excuse me.
night, suppose?
Well, I think every Rangers supporters in the world of global football wanted what happened yesterday to happen, and Russell be removed from the post. It was a long time coming, and I have to be honest with you, it just feels like there's a new dawn today, and there's a new shift and change, and I'm really hoping that we can really get this right the next time and move forward because the last couple of months has been awful, hasn't it?
Yeah,
It's
it's
been
been a
soul
tough. It's
destroying.
been a, it has been, Frankie. It's been soul destroying for us all. You're a bit like ourselves, Frankie. You've got a good massive page there on Facebook. We've got a good sized page ourselves, so we can sort of gauge,
Mm-hmm.
what the supporters are feeling. And I'm sure you're the ones on your page,
Yeah.
Frankie, who haven't been too happy.
No, they've not. And the thing is, we were all united the last 4 months. Not many arguments to the page. Today there's arguments left, right, and centre. Who they want to be the manager. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. But it's just that the opinions are out there. People are hot. People are buzzing. But it's a good atmosphere around this the Rangers internet world at the moment. You know, Twitter and all that. It's quite good. I'm not on TikTok as much, but there's some funnies on the other day. But yeah, good place.
So we'll go into this, Baz. Are you ready? If you want to give a readout, and then, as I say, we'll dissect what the owners have had to say after you read the wee statement out for us, mate.
Bear with me with name pronunciation here, okay? So, but it's Rangers chairman Andrew Kavanagh and vice chairman Parag Marath have written the following open letter to the supporters. So this is the old yous watching. Dear supporters, as you've seen by now, we are making a change at Rangers and have parted ways with Russell Martin, Matt Gill, and Mike Williamson. With thanks for their hard work. When we took over the club this summer, we shared what we wanted to build for Rangers to win trophies in Scotland and to be able to compete at a high level in Europe. We know achieving these goals will take time, but our performances and results have not been good enough. We know you're frustrated. We are too. We did not get this right, and it's our responsibility to fix it and get us back on track. A rigorous, thoughtful recruitment process is already underway, and we are treating it with the urgency it deserves. The two of us are deeply involved, and the evaluation will have our full attention, and we're confident we will have a leader with the character and skill set to deliver results. Moving forward, we are fully confident in our players who possess the talent and determination to succeed. At the same time, a great deal of important work is progressing across the club, building out a stable leadership and football structure under Patrick and Kevin's guidance, advancing detailed plans aligned with our long-term strategy, and beginning the early stages of investment planning for Ibrox. Your focus will rightly be what is happening on the pitch, but this work also matters and it will help lay the foundation for success in the future. Change is never easy, but we are deterred to work hard. In fact, we see a great opportunity ahead. The season is not over and we have plenty to play in all four competitions. Together, we are committed to delivering the performances and results that you can all be proud of. Your loyalty to this club through thick and thin is something we do not take for granted. We will see effort and emotion you put in supporting Rangers, and it drives us every day. We intend to earn your trust because we all share the same goal, restoring success to Rangers. Andrew and Parag.
Very good. So we had, as I say, Frank, it was actually Frankie let us know just as we were about to come on live that was put out. So I give it a wee read as well, just before obviously Baz was able to read it out there. I think it was very well said. All we asked for on here, and I think most of the Rangers supporters were asking to see him. Look, put your hands up. Admit you made a bit of a balls, and the support will back at you. If you try to tell the Rangers supporters that something's not that what it is and what we can see, and try to treat us, foolishness, we don't like it because we're not a foolish support. We know our club better than anyone. But to be fair, Frankie, we did ask, and what we wanted was for the owners to come out and admit that they made a mistake and they're going to put it right. And to be fair, they have done that.
Yeah, that's all we wanted. That because when I started reading, that was the thing. Say you got it wrong, say you got it wrong, then it was there. And I thought that's brilliant. And I actually kind of messed up a wee bit. I thought it was Thelwell and Thingy that had released it. No, it's Patrick. This is the boss. This is the man at the top. This is the man with the money. And that's a big thing. And see, listening to Baz read it back there, something just dawned on me. There's a slap in the backside there for Thelwell and Stewart as well. The fact that they said we are now fully involved or something like that in the recruitment process, that's not their job. That's Thelwell and Stewart's job in the past. So I think there's a wee bit of a, am I overthinking this now? Could they be going as well? But no, mate, no, they would have done that today. But that's maybe me overthinking, which I'm guilty of. But I liked what they've said there. They've owned it and they're fully involved, and they don't want to make the mistake twice because they're owning that. They don't want to make a fool of themselves twice.
Yeah, and another thing is, but I think what Frankie was saying there, obviously these guys are now wanting to be involved. But when you have the likes of Kevin Thelwell, only 2 weeks ago, coming to the Rangers reporters and saying, listen, this is the best coach I've ever worked with. And then 2 weeks later, he's getting the chop and the bosses are going, oh, is he? Well, fuck, I don't know what you're watching because he's out of here. What does that say for Kevin Thelwell? But before you say that, what did you think of the statement?
It's about time the statement of like that came out at Rangers because the fans have been left outside Ibrox for far too long now. Russell Martin had completely separated what was happening inside from outside. It was very, very clear that the supporters have all been segregated badly over this. And the fact that the owners have come out, and Frankie's right, they've owned it. They've come out and they've said it's our, the mistakes have been made. We're going to change it and we're going to make it better. A lot of supporters will look into that statement. If you're looking at any negativity, that the fact that Patrick and Thelwell are still there, and there's obviously a job for them still to do. But I also do think Frankie's right in the context of is I think they've been schooled here. I think they've been dropped down a peg or two, and they've been told we're getting involved. We're having to do what you couldn't do, and you're in last chance saloon. That's what I personally take out of that.
Yeah, same here. Absolutely. What did you think about it, William?
No, I think exactly the same. I think you're right. Listen, at the end of the day, these guys are pumping big money into our club.
Mm-hmm.
And the likes of Kevin Thelwell 2 weeks ago was telling the likes of Andrew Cavan across the water, don't worry, it's all sort of, look, I'm looking at him day to day. I know you're coming over to watch the games, but I'm watching him day to day. He's amazing. This guy's the best coach I've ever seen, I've ever worked with. Just let it go. It'll get it right. And obviously, like Andrew Cavan is going, well, it's not coming right here. And another week goes by, and another week goes by. We're already no points in Europe. We have Roma, Braga, and Porto to play. There's, that's for me, that's a no-go anyway. You're in the league where you're 11 points behind Hearts and 7 games played. And the likes of Kevin Thelwell there, who's trying to wipe the eye of the club, and maybe the likes of Andrew Kavanagh and Pratt Murata's just went, right, hold on, we're putting the brakes on here. And it's bringing the likes of them 2 boys in and going, what the hell's going wrong here? They're the 2 that's meant to keep everything in check and making sure that everything's running right. And obviously it hasn't been running right, and I would say for them 2 to come out, Frankie and a statement, and basically say, look, just let everyone know. It just sort of taps them in the head as if to say, don't worry, lads, we're taking over this one.
It's a written warning and a verbal warning in a very public manner. But we were talking beforehand, and something that you said, the last time Mr. Kavanagh was open, remember, the game finished, we were booing, and he was standing at the way down from the director's box watching. And I liked that. I didn't like the fact he had to do it, but I thought he's observing. And again, we said, remember, Ali said something when he was commentating, the rumour is, or there's something like that there's 4 games to sort it out. That was 4 games. And we said, like, Ali wouldn't say that on a national broadcaster without the say-so of his directors or something like that, or the producer, whatever they call it, because there's legal stuff there and all that. So that's for all the rumours that go around, that's kind of folded out, and like I say, they've owned it, and I've got it's given me another lift tonight, aside from the Russell Martin departure.
Well, this is another thing, guys. It was too late. We know that. In my opinion, I think we're all in agreement that should have been done quite a long time ago. But what I didn't like about it was, Frank, I'll go with you first, then Baz, if you want to get in this one. But the first red flag for me, well, there was many, but the first big red flag was not beating Dundee, but the interview after it was even worse, because the first thing he comes out and says, we didn't expect Dundee to play that way. And I'm thinking, if you don't know how Dundee are going to play at Ibrox, the way they've played at Ibrox for 100 years, and you can't see that, and you're meant to be the manager of this football club who's watched all the games, or so many games last season, and you haven't come prepared for how Stephen Presley is going to bring Dundee to Ibrox, how they're going to set up. And then he made a statement saying, it isn't the end of the world. And I'm thinking, hold on, he doesn't get this club, because see, Rangers Football Club, and no offence to any clubs down in England or anywhere else in the world, Rangers Football Club isn't the type of club where you watch Rangers on a Saturday, you put them away and you forget about them, and you next Saturday when the game's about to play, you get your interest again. Rangers is a 24/7, 365 addiction for us and our supporters. Yeah. And if he thinks it's not the end of the world, well, I'm sorry, but see, for the likes of me, everyone watching, and the guys here that's also with me in the street, and it's the end of our world when we're not winning, because Rangers is everything for us. Rangers is our religion, Ibrox is our church. You didn't get it straight away, Frankie. But as I say, the club have come out now and says, we made the balls up, but it's all about who they get up, there. But the red flags were there early, weren't they?
They were. But I think there's a certain degree of Thelwell and Stewart, maybe next week, because we've all done stuff like that, like, will it maybe get better? Like, you cut a finger, like, maybe it'll stop bleeding, sort of thing, and it doesn't. It's the end. So I'm not defending them as such. I always try and think what they're thinking. You know what I mean? So there was maybe an element of that. But yeah, and it was his mannerism. I actually see his first couple of interviews at the pre-season. I thought, I quite like this chap. You know what I mean? He was very loose, very upfront. I thought, I quite like this chap now. And I know being a nice man doesn't mean you're a good football player, a good football coach. You know what I mean? Sometimes the most horrible people are the best coaches. Listen, Alex Ferguson wasn't particularly a nice person, you know what I mean? But he got results. But and it was the shrugging of the shoulders and the smarminess and all that. That is not. Can you imagine what Mr. Gregg was thinking watching that? What Ali and all that, because these players like Goffey and Terry Butcher, all the past captains that are still about, they must have been sitting there cringing. They will never say that publicly, but you know what I mean. They must have been cringing, especially Mr. Gregg. He's a guy I sort of think about when it comes to this formal side of Rangers, and he must have been. Oh, God's sake, man, but wherever we are, and it's a breather again tonight, but what they've said has been brilliant. The more that statement's sinking in, the better I feel, even though I was on a kind of bit of a buzz anyway. Yeah. No, I know I said there, yeah, I know.
And what about yourself, Baz? And you would say, saying like the red flags were the early doors, I would say, like I said, the Dundee game, people can talk about the Bruges game. People can talk about Hearts beating us 2-0 at Ibrox. There's so many red flag moments. As I say, hopefully it's not too little, too late. Hopefully we can somehow get something going. In my opinion, and I could be wrong here, I don't think the Emmons across the city are a very good team. I think if we were to get those players going and just get a bit of wins together, there could be a bit of panic there. But listen, that doesn't mean Hearts won't go on. They might, there's no guarantees that they're going to fall away a wee bit like Aberdeen did last season. But there's still a lot to play for, Baz. But say the right decision was made eventually, and but it's kudos to finally making that decision, albeit maybe a bit too late.
There was many red flags. Pre-season was terrible, awful. The league campaign's been awful. The European adventure has been awful. The fact, and this mightn't annoy some people, but it annoys me, the fact that he wouldn't even wear the proper attire and the dugout, it really pissed me off. The fact that he couldn't wear a suit and proper brown brogues, that really annoyed me. And, because this was tradition of this football club that he basically just discarded. That's all right if a manager's in for a couple of seasons and has earned the respect of the supporters and says, look, lads, see the suit thing, I'd prefer to wear something else. You don't do it from day one. I just didn't understand that. To me, that just showed total disregard for the whole DNA of the club. That annoyed me. The red flag with Raskin, that annoyed me. The red flag continuously with young Curtis, that annoys me. Do you know what I mean, Frankie? There's that many things you could pick out of it.
I know. The thing is, for me, see the suit thing, right? And I know you two will disagree and men will disagree. I wouldn't mind a Rangers manager playing in doing a tracksuit, right? But the fact that he just waffled and said, I was sweating. There's people on night shifts tonight and minimum wage sweating their guts out around the world. You know what I mean? The players are sweating their guts out. And then he wore a kind of suit as if he was going out in the pool at night. You know what I mean? And I remember Gerrard said when he came, he said, I would rather wear a tracksuit, but the club have asked me to wear a suit, and I'll wear a suit. And that I always liked that about Gerrard, because he would be a tracksuit manager. But he said, I'm wearing a suit because the club told me to, asked me to wear a suit, and that was something that I'd off my hat at Gerrard.
And the thing about it is, Frankie, it's not just about the suit. And the reason why I'm mentioning the suit is I'm not fully focusing on the suit. I'm adding up all the numbers that add up to a certain denominator. Do you know what I'm getting at? The disregard. It's a whole package. It's the disregard for the fans at the pressers after the match, and disregarding the supporters and how they should feel. I just didn't understand anything. I said this before, when Clement was talking, I didn't really understand the language tone. I didn't really understand what he was saying. The problem with Russell Martin was I heard word for word what crap he was talking.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I know.
And all them things, Frankie, for me add up. I just don't think Russell Martin earned the respect to be able to do what he done so early on.
But if he did similar to the two owners have just done there and said, listen, lads, I know it's bad. I'm trying my hardest. Bear with me. I will get it right. Please, I apologise for that game. It's on me. Because there's the video doing the rounds about Gerrard where he's getting interviewed. Somebody's got a suit on. I think he's got a sweater on with the shirt and tie on, and said, that's on me. That's my fault. You know what I mean? I can't remember what game it was, but he just out and out. Jose Mourinho's an expert at it. He never throws a player under the bus. It's all him. You know, I mean, you protect your players. And he threw them under the bus yesterday, saying, they're all too young.
Frankie threw them under the bus in the first league match. He threw them under the bus in the Motherwell game when he straight away said there's egos here. Straight away, egos here, and we need to sort this all out. And then he started to take Tavernier off. He took Grass and stuff off, and was seeing all these shit. And they were like, who is the ego? Because he wasn't actually clarifying with players. He was just taking players in and out. And then it changed the mentality, and then it changed to anxiety, and then I don't know what the hell, what ADHD at one stage. I don't know what was going on. There was that much different things going on, and excuses. And the thing is, Frankie, and I agree with you, if he had to come out a bit like what Gerrard done at the time, and just because all we want is honesty at Rangers fans, we're not thick.
Simple.
Do you know what I mean? We're just we can see, we know, and a bit like why we wanted our owners to come out and say, look, we fucked up, which they have. Which is why we're not giving them any. We were ready to give abuse and hate, but we were very quick to turn tail and go fair play. You have accepted it.
Something to remember.
Wasn't willing to do that.
The United States is 6 to 8 hours behind us, so it's still lunchtime there, or 10 in the morning. I don't know which coast they're on. I think if you're in California, which the 49ers are, I think they're in Philadelphia actually, aren't they? So Kavanagh is it's lunchtime there. So he'll have had, I don't know if they'll have written about it's a lawyer or something like that, but they'll have had to have approved it. They would have had a Zoom call with the board today and all that, and there'll be more than Thelwell in that there. There'll be a few there. So, and then have all decided one of them with the across the the back of the head. But we are where we are, and it's a comfortable place right now because we're still in every competition. Hearts will do what Hearts do. But the thing that annoys me, gentlemen, I know I might be jumping the gun here, the fact that Celtic are crap and see if we put pressure on him, I don't mind Rodgers as a person. I think he's a decent enough person, but he cannot handle pressure, and he's getting pressure off the fans, and we're not giving him any. Because if we give Celtic pressure, those fans are entitled to tell. They've had 15 years of a free hit. They can't handle us putting pressure on them, and we're failing at the moment.
100%. I'll just go because I say we do because we are getting away from Russell Martin, obviously, because he's not here no longer. It is our first show, obviously, since he's been sacked. That's why we're talking about it. But what I wanted to just say, it was a quote yesterday. I pulled it up. It was a quote that he said yesterday before he left. I hear everyone saying it all the time. You just have to win. You also have to have a way to win and a way to learn and grow and develop. You can't just win sustainably, in my opinion. Try telling Walter Smith that. Walter Smith, sometimes the football was dire, but it didn't matter. He knew how to win. He got players in who would fight. We didn't watch a Falkirk team like we watched yesterday who out-battled us, out-fought us, wanted it more. And what I don't want this is why I'm glad that this is why I'm glad that the owners have admitted they made a mistake and went down the wrong track, because we can't go down another philosophy manager. We can't do it, Frankie, because it does not work in Scotland.
No. Who's going to be the prime names? I had them written down. I've left them on my joggy bottoms. The prime candidates that we've got, I'm quite happy with all. The one that I wouldn't take is, what's his name, the Chef Wednesday, Dan Roll, is it? Because he's only had 2 seasons as a coach and he did well those 2 seasons. That might be a flash in the pan. Like Le Guen. Le Guen did well for 2 seasons in France and he came and he's been a failure since. That's too much of a Russell Martin type manager for me. But Mark, the thing is, I didn't particularly like the way it ended with Martin, and that's me talking as a kind of parent and a grandfather. That's somebody's son, and I know I'm being a bit soft here. I felt a bit sorry for him then, even though he had total disregard for the 3 of us here and the many punters watching. I didn't quite like that then, but I think that car was there no matter what. Because the rumour was he was told to leave the dressing room. The players would have been told that he's gone, and I think that car would have been there. Anyway, that's something that's been maybe missed today. He was getting escorted home because he can't go in the team bus when he's been sacked. You know what I mean? Imagine the atmosphere would be like,
Roskin attacking him.
The bottles of bucky out. The party tunes on.
Another thing I want to ask you, Baz, I'll ask you this one, because I say, well, we'll give Russell a lot of stick, rightly so. Like Frankie says, look, you don't want to see anyone having to go in the back of a car to get literally driven out of the stadium, police escort. You don't want to see that, but that's just the support just pissed off, and then that was it. And then that's what happens sometimes, unfortunately. But at least nobody was hurt or anything. That's the main thing. But the right decision was made. But the likes of, I'll just bring up a few names by like the players, the likes of Raskin, who, now to be fair, Raskin's a good player. We all know that. He came on when he came on the Hibs match. He was absolutely unplayable. He was fantastic that game, but he had a point to prove. And then at last few games, he hasn't just been the same. It's dumped down again. And this is what it's sort of, you get these players that'll puff their chest out and they'll be like, I'll show him what they've been missing, or they make a point here. But they should be doing that every game. And there's players there that get an easy ride. And I've seen there's some players at our club, Tav in particular, he'll be saying, I think the next manager will be his 8th full-time manager and part-time. So what I mean is there's a mentality issue there at the club, there's no doubt about it. But I think, Baz, the players deserve a bit of stick too, don't they? They haven't been putting it in. You can't be set up wrong, I agree with that. But when you're constantly seeing teams like Livingston, teams like Motherwell, teams like Falkirk on the pitch want it more than you every week, that's a player issue as well.
Absolutely. I mean, when you put that shirt on, and I'm going to tell you, the 3 of us are sitting here, and each one of us would love to run out of Ibrox Park with a Rangers shirt on in front of those fans, wouldn't you? I mean, Jesus, mate, it's your dream. But you're totally right. Some of the players don't get it still. Raskin, I think Raskin gets it. I think it's a difficult one because you see when a manager's under pressure, and as a player, if you're not getting what the manager is saying to you, and you don't want him there is a very good chance you might drop a couple of % during the game. I actually said this yesterday, Frankie, till Gary. I was watching the match with a fellow called Gary Amadea, and I said, something? There was a couple of passes, there was a couple of moments where I went, they're not up for this today. They do not want us to win today. It felt, I'm not saying that they tried to lose or get them the sack, but it just looked like the players had just lost all hope with what they're being coached. I just think the players had give up. I honestly do. I think there was an element of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. The players aren't stupid. Listen, and you think about it. If they're in Ibrox for 8 or the training ground for 8 in the morning, they're going by lunchtime. They've got nothing else to do. Do you not think they've all got burner accounts on Twitter and stuff like that, and Facebook and Instagram? They see what they say. They're not stupid. You've got to remember these guys are these guys are football mad as well. Okay, they may not be Rangers fans, but they love football as much as anyone, you know. I mean, they're immersed in it. They have Sky Sports News on, Talk Sport on, their home country's equivalent of Sky Sports on, their Twitter open. But yeah, it's sorry, I've got a notification popped up there. There is, but see, like if we get the right manager, and can you imagine, like? I know you're probably talking about the next match, but we'll stick to where we are. But yeah, you're right. The players I wouldn't say they were giving up. I never saw them giving up. I never saw anything suggest that he'd lost the dressing room as such. I just think they were weary of being told one thing, trying to put squares into circles. It's as if they're overcoached, you know.
Yeah, no, 100%. The likes of, there's a few comments, like I said, stuff I was talking about Moore, and I'm just saying the likes of young Moore, they're 18 years of age, right? Now, I wouldn't say he is a rubbish player. He obviously hasn't got where he is because he's rubbish. But the fact is, Rangers Football Club cannot be a place where we babysit players to try and make them better for somebody else when we're not winning leagues. We're not winning titles. We're not winning cups. You know what I mean? Now, don't get me wrong. If everything's whistling and firing and we're winning a lot of games, and then we can add maybe a couple of players here, there, you know, loan players, and bring them up and help other clubs along, and you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. But we're not in that position. We're in a position where we're desperate to win. And we're seeing the likes of young Curtis, who is our Ranger man, like ourselves here, who's lucky enough to be in a position. He's not even on that bench. Now, Curtis has come on 2 or 3 times this season and scored goals. You know, I mean, Maggie Moore hasn't showed me as much as what young Curtis has. Maybe that's just because Curtis knows the league, knows what it's about in Scotland, and is desperate to score goals. And it annoys me, Frankie, just to see, you know, the likes of Maggie Moore coming on as 18. And I'm not putting him down, I'm just saying. And then seeing the likes of Curtis then having to be out of the squad and losing the place out of that, it doesn't make sense.
But I was told that the other podcast on Big Ricky Neal, and Ricky's pretty well connected, that he's got to start 22 games. No, Moore, that's it. That's the deal. He's got to start 22 games. But you think about it, if we put, right, I'm 8 miles from Ayr United's ground. Rangers send players down there all the time. They're being told they've got to play. You know what I mean? But the thing is about Moore, you ask any Tottenham fan, this is an England starter in a few years. You know what I mean? But the good thing is, a new manager comes in, new coach, whatever you want to call it. You know, hopefully we get the new players bouncing. If it's the right guy, especially, these players might, you know, see. I think there's a core of a good football team there. You know what I mean? And we can still win stuff this season. But you're right, Curtis must be devastated, man. He's like, what have I done wrong? Because he was one of the only shining lights in this period. We've got a young bear, a Rangers daft. We saw him waving at his mum and dad after that first game when he scored in Europe. Remember, he came down the left, and I was right down the throat of it. And then he was dropped it. But the thing is, he was in the stand with the Union Bears and all that yesterday. You know what I mean? So
yeah. There's another comment that says about NCL needs called back. Now he's an actual player. Now I know we had a poor performance a couple of times. One was against Kilmartin, and he was bombed out, and we haven't seen much of him since. But when he's young and he's going to make mistakes. But Barry, he was actually one of the players when he had the ball. NCL, when we first got it, he was getting chances. He was spotting passes, and we were all going, "Yes, kid." He can see the passes. He can hold on to the ball well. And I actually thought he would have been actually a perfect player for the likes of Russell Martin, that sort of defender that's comfortable with the ball, can see passes, can come out with it. And he's been bombed out. But I think I'm hoping whoever comes in next gives NCL a chance, because I think there's a player there. I'm not saying he's world class, but I don't think he deserves being bombed out and then going out and paying 3.5 million for Fernandes. Well, haven't seen.
Well, 3.5 million for a player that was playing for Peterborough, and the Peterborough fans couldn't wait to see the back of him. I don't know what that's about. But in terms of NCL, you know, AC Milan did not want him to go. They tried to keep him. You know, AC Milan, one of the biggest kingpins in European football over decades of years, who are still a mighty force, did not want that young player to leave. He came to Rangers thinking that he would get opportunities, he would get development chances. It hasn't happened. He got a couple of games. All right, he wasn't superb, but that's what development's about. You have to learn the game. What's very good for an NCL is that a new coach that comes in, hopefully will wipe the board and give them all a fresh start and a new chance. Except for if the Moore thing's right, Frankie, that's a slight problem, because regardless of how he's playing, if he's to start 22 games, that could hinder us if his form's poor. But in terms of, but going back to NCL, the guy needs a chance. To me, you know, he's been in the AC Milan youth team. He's been technically coached very well. Can he do it in Scottish football? Is always the other side of the coin. You know, you can be technically gifted, but you might not have what it's needed for the rough and tumble of the big strikers. You know, in Scottish football, it's a difficult one. But again, it's all down to the new coach. Whoever gets the job, I'm hoping it's a manager, not just a coach. I'm hoping somebody actually takes full charge of that squad. And it's going to be down to him, who he looks at, who he really wants, and what type of style they want to play. There's a lot of conundrums and who actually takes over, so you don't know.
Yeah, there is. The thing is, the next person that's come in, the manager that we end up coach, whatever you want to call, all will have been watching already. Their ears will be pricked. They all know the jobs that they can get, and they'll have been watching us out the corner of their eye. And I think one of the first things we'll say, listen, I want more control over who we sign. You know what I mean? Because he's seen that it's maybe not worked. But also, like you say, the main thing is every single player gets a new line in the sand. You know, you go bring them into your office, cup of tea, talk about what's your favourite position, left wing, right back. All right, how's the family? Get to know them. You know, get how many kids. You get personal. You know what I mean? Because everyone's different. Some people will be quiet as a mouse. Some people will be a gobshite like the three of us. You know what I mean? It's an exciting time. You know, I know who. It's exciting times, and like I say, and hopefully we get the first thing. I don't care, win that first bloody game.
I know. Don't know. Well, hopefully they'll be in place for Dundee United. That'll be the first game, hopefully, because hopefully it doesn't drag out too long. I don't want us obviously to go out and rush it, but I want something sort of pretty quick, because I would like to think at a club like Rangers, you don't always want to plan for anything going wrong, but I'd like to think that we're always keeping a list there anyway to who could be possibly good. But listen, anyone, just quickly before we're halfway through the show, so anyone who's been, or if you're watching, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do, folks, because it helps us out a lot. And if you haven't liked the wee stream, if you would, we'd really appreciate that. And also, we're going to start talking. I'm going to quiz the guys here on who they would maybe like to see as the next manager and what they want to see going forward and stuff. So if you want to write in comments, let us know, and we'll sort of get a vibe of what you guys and gals are watching, and who it is you wanting as the manager. But Baz, I'll start with you, and then we'll ask Frankie. Is there one particular name you want, and there's nobody else, or are you willing to be flexible, or are you looking at a certain kind of manager? What's your thoughts on who could be coming in?
He's asking me this, Frankie, and he already knows the answer. I've told him this for a while. It's Gerrard for me. I'm a fan of Gerrard. I think Gerrard would bring back that get and go back at Ibrox. I think it would rejuvenate the whole place. I just think, Frankie, you see the fact. If Gerrard signed and you got him back into, remember the first time where they brought him into Ibrox and they brought him into the enclosure, the room. It was just an absolute uplift, and I think that's what Rangers need right now. I think bringing in a Sean Dyche or somebody like that, I don't think the support's going to get up for that. I think it needs to be somebody with a bit of a high profile. I would also love to see Frank Lampard. I think Frank Lampard would be fantastic. I don't think we're going to get him, Frankie. He's doing too well at contract. So it all goes back for me personally. I'm a Gerrard fan. Now, what I would say is it's very, very important if Gerrard was to come, he brings the right backroom team with him. I would like to see Jermaine Defoe coming with him, possibly a Stephen Davis. And I would also like to see somebody with an experienced assistant, just somebody who has a wee bit of stock about them. But that's who I'm going for personally.
Well, this morning I said Muscat. I was all for Muscat, but as the day's gone on, I've kind of swung over to Gerrard because of the bounce. He walks into that training pitch next week, the players like that. That's Steven Gerrard. Because although they're young, they grew up with Gerrard doing the Istanbul thing and all that. You imagine Gerrard and young Raskin. That's his Alfie. That's his Alfie. You know, come here, you madman. You know what I mean? I'm building this team around you. You know what I mean? And he would get the best out of him. And I know people say, and I've been critical, I've been heavy, I've said this myself. He only won one trophy out of 9. But See, when we came in, we were a basket case. We were on the edge. You know what I mean? And what's his name? Mr. King threw it, went all in, as they say, and it worked. It stopped at 55. Okay, Celtic weren't in a good place. And something we sometimes forget, well, it was COVID, so Ibrox was empty, so they didn't have us lot on top of them at times. That doesn't matter. You get 55. You know, but I wouldn't be adverse to Dice. People say he's defensive. Good. You know what I mean? But the thing is, he had to be defensive because of the teams he was at in England. When he's up here, he doesn't need to. He can be a bit more free and play a bit more. He can be a bit attack more minded, but the back door will be locked. You know, and I actually think that's who it will be. It's not who I want, but I think that's who it will be.
Yeah, well, listen, I have a feeling it might happen as well. The way I look at it is the supporters we've tried all these different things, Frankie. We've tried all these philosophies. We've tried all these different from different leagues. I think what Rangers need, we're very unique in a way that we just need a figurehead. See this here coach idea. Let's get a head coach and leave Thelwell to run everything football wise. And don't forget, Thelwell's give us a discipline. First of all, he recommended Russell Martin. Second of all, he said that he's the best coach he's ever worked with. Third of all, he's got us 10 million quid on a player that hasn't scored a goal in 2.5 years. I'm thinking, I don't know. And then he's getting in and pointing people from his own family and stuff. When is that really looking? Is that spreading the net far and wide for Glasgow Rangers and saying let's get the best? Or and tell me this: say his son doesn't do a great job, is he ever going to sack his own son? Is that ever going to happen?
I know that really annoyed me.
Crazy situation.
And the thing is, from what I understand, his son was only a video coach, so he was getting DVDs or YouTube videos. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I believe. But I was like,
football manager.
For God's sake, read the room. They did not read the room there. I wonder if, because Mr. Canova is, like we were talking off there, these guys are billionaires. They don't get to billionaires without realising the mistakes. Okay, I know there's skullduggery goes on at that level, but I wouldn't be surprised if Thelwell might go. We don't know how much Canova really knew about what was going on. Don't get me wrong; they'll have watched the games on the Saturday and the Sunday, but he's got God knows how many businesses to run. His phone doesn't stop. He's got this. You know what I mean? So, but they're micromanaging now, and he will not. Those two will not like that.
Yeah, no, 100. What's your thoughts, Baz?
Well, see with Thelwell, I just don't get the whole thing with Thelwell at all. I haven't from the start. He's another one that just doesn't get it. He's been at Everton. Everton's a big club, yes, and they are a big club, but they're not as big as Rangers. That's just a fact. People can say whatever they want on that one, but that's the truth, Frankie. Rangers, Everton are not. They're not as big as Rangers. That's just a fact. No. The fact that he's brought his son in, to me, it's just like poking the bear with the fans, wasn't it? It was, the timing was awful. The timing itself was awful. Actually doing it, I just thought that was poor. But I just want to go back to one thing about Gerrard, and I am an advocate of Gerrard, and I actually would like to see him coming up. But what I would stress very strenuously is with Gerrard, this has to be an all-in job. This must be all in. This has to be, if you're here, you're staying here and you're sticking it out. And you know what I mean, Frankie? Because there still always is that wee slight element with the fans of what happened with Aston Villa. This time it has to be, are you fully in? Yes, then let's do it.
But back me. That's the thing. If I want money, 100%. I want that to give me it. The only club I would never begrudge him going to is Liverpool. You can't take that away from the boy. You know what I mean? It's like, but I'm all in with Gerrard now. I know there's every manager that'll come in, there could be, but see the bounce he would give us. I would be up to Ibrox if he was presented tomorrow, and I don't. That's not something I would do normally, but I would be. I don't go back to work till Thursday. I'd be up to Ibrox tomorrow if he was there, just to see if they would let us in again and all that. But Gerrard would give us a buzz. I know there's a lot of fans who wouldn't like them, but see, once Gerrard was presented at Ibrox, he would sit back and go, "Yeah, all right. Okay, he's here." Especially because social media would light up. But yeah.
I say, I was a bit like you, Frank. I want a Muscat, to be fair. But what I did say is, look, if it was Gerrard, straight away you'd be on. You have to get on board. You know what I mean? That's what we do as Rangers supporters. You just get on board, and I think the support would do that. But everyone's going to have their own own things here and there. But I'll ask you first. On the comments, just put a yes or a no, and I'll ask you, Frankie, and then Baz, you can answer. If Gerrard was to come back, and we know who was very important when Gerrard was here was Michael Beale. And if Gerrard basically says, "Look, I'll come, but I'm not coming without Michael Beale," would that still be a yes or a no for you?
Absolutely, all in. Because Michael was part of the success of 55. The end. He won't be doing media. He'll be taking the training up at Auchenhowie. He'll be beside Gerrard on match day. His joggies on. His Predators on. Taking notes, right? What about that? I'm fine with that. Just keep him out of the media.
What do you think, Baz?
Absolutely yes, because at the end of the day, it's what's best for the club and what's best for the results. And if a Michael Beale gets the best out of Gerrard, then 100%. You don't have to like everybody that you're associated with, but it's what makes the clock tick. You know what I mean? If Gerrard's the clock and Beale's the battery, sure, what about it? At the end of the day, that's what you got to do. I can understand some fans being a wee bit dubious about Michael Beale and certain things, but at the end of the day, everybody deserves a second chance as well, And to be fair, Michael Beale's percentage record was in the high 70s. It wasn't that bad, It tailed off at the end, but it's 70. I think it was. Don't quote me 100%, but I think it was nearly 79% win success rate at Ibrox. Yeah. That is not bad, Frankie, for any coach.
Not at all. And he was a coach of Corinthians or something like that in Brazil. We forget about that. An Englishman going over to, I can't remember which Brazilian team, but it was certainly one of the Sao Paulo teams, one of the big boys. He was a coach of that. That's a huge thing in your CV. And I think he did semi-decent. The fact that they invited him over in the first place is a big deal. It's Brazil after all. We don't need to talk about it. But I'm all in with Gerrard, but I think it'll be Dice that the Rangers will choose.
Yeah, I'm hoping not, to be honest, on that one, because I'm just not for it. I'm just not, and I'm just the only reason I'm saying is because listen, I'm not going to sit and say he's not a great manager. Who am I to sit here and tell it that Sean Dice, who's got Burnley up in the Championship and it was very successful, as successful as sort of can be with Burnley, in the league they were stalwart there for a long time. The only thing would worry me is Barry with that is maybe more. He is a great defensive manager, 100%. Would he have us sitting not making as many goals? 100%. But does he have that attack of football? I don't know. But it's another one I think the supporters would, they would not want it, but I think they would get on board with it if that was the decision.
He's got pedigree. He's got a certain degree of pedigree. He's an established English Premiership manager. He'll be a Forest or a Sunderland or something like that. He'll bounce about those clubs all his career.
He will. Whether he can take Rangers to heights that we were expecting, I'm not so sure, Frankie. I don't know about Sean Dice, to be honest with you.
I know.
But if he does get it, well, at the end of the day, it's like everything. We'll have to back him, and we'll hope that it works. My worry is again we're fishing towards the old Everton basement again of just going for boys but no. I don't think Rangers need that right now. I think Rangers need a complete different direction away from all that nonsense. You know what I mean? If your only scope, Frankie, is Everton Football Club, and that's basically where you're getting most of your picks from, I just don't think that works.
Here's the thing, though. If Thelma wasn't there, Dice would still be in the frame.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you on that.
But I think you're right. He's just employed his son. The owners, I'm hoping Mr. Kavanagh and that say, nah. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure there'll be Rangers fans around Kavanagh in the States to say, look, we can't have Dice from Everton. It just doesn't look good. He's just employed his son. Even though he might be, I'm contradicting myself here, but I'm just thinking on my feet. I might bust my hamstring in a second. But I think on my feet, that might happen. He might have counted himself because of Kavanagh's just released that statement. They might say, no more Everton contacts. Mr. Dice, no. And he is a good coach, but no thank you. Dice will end up the England manager, to be honest. Let's be honest. One day.
Yeah, very, very likely. I just think when you read the statement and you look at the owners coming in now, they're taking charge. They're going to say, we're picking the manager. You aren't doing it. We're picking it, and you'll work with him.
You pick it, and we'll approve it. You pick it, then we'll go through the CV. And I think Kavanagh will go to Gerrard knocking. I think Kavanagh will phone himself and say, what do you need? But here's something I wanted to say about Gerrard, right? And I how did I say this about grassing somebody up? I was told reliably, somebody that's in Bahrain, his family are acutely settled there, especially the kids at school, and that's a big deal. You know what I mean? Because the kids and all that don't get bothered that much about, your dad's Steven Gerrard, your dad's Steven Gerrard. And Gerrard can walk around Bahrain and not get, don't get me wrong, the expat community will see him, but he's not anonymous at all. But you know what I mean? But my argument against myself is, if Liverpool comes, go, do you want the manager? I'll be there in 20 minutes.
The thing is, there was rumours. Sorry, Baz. I was watching. It was a TalkSport interview a couple of days ago when they were chatting, and one of the pundits had said that, as far as he was concerned, now this was the last time when we were trying to appoint a manager there before we before we got Russell Martin, that Gerrard was asked, and at that point he was happy in Bahrain and whatever was going on there, but like what Frankie's saying, there is settled and stuff. But you know what Gerrard's like, or he could be sitting there just looking at it and going, right, I didn't take it that time, and you know what I mean, and knowing that the fans demanding it, wanting them back so many, he could be licking his lips and going, I fancy this, and that's the kind of guy he is, isn't he? He could just go, and if the club wanted him. See how Barry when he's a bad egg, because Frankie, me and you were both on the Muscat train, and look, he's steering us away. Barry's steering us onto this Gerrard train. We're already on board.
I know. The thing is about Gerrard, though, these guys function at a high level. He's been busy all his life. There'll be a certain degree of boredom. Like the kids are away to school. Your missus has bought a 10 millionth Prada handbag. You know, I want back in the game. You know, and listen, Bahrain is only 8 hours away. I travel the world constantly, and I know to a lot of people 8 hours sounds a lot. See, if he's jumping in a private jet, you know what I mean, 8 hours is a kip for him. Phone off, Netflix, like I do, you know what I mean? And I want to highlight something. People have mentioned his tax. The tax is no issue. That was up in April, because I do the same tax thing as him. Obviously not the same money, because I'm normally out, not this year, but normally because I'm out of the country 90 days of the year, or in less than 90 days. So people, I want to highlight that. People that talk about his taxing, that's done and dusted.
I'll ask you this, Baz, and then we'll ask Frankie. So what do you want to see? Whoever comes in, whether it's Gerrard, we'll wait and see. What do you want to see improved? And I know there's a lot to improve, but what do you want to see improved straight away in that Rangers team first game?
Well, the desire, the hunger to win. That's the main thing that the Rangers should have every week. We've lost that over the years, that hunger and desire to go onto that pitch and fight for every loose ball, win the second ball, attack, get the supporters on board. They're all the foundations of what Rangers is. We can talk about the other parts of the DNA in terms of how the new management sets themselves up, in terms of how they approach themselves towards the fans and the media, etc., etc. But at the minute, and let's be honest, we're in the start of a season here. We're already in a season, so every game counts now. That we need 3 points. So whoever does come in, and I hope it's quite soon in this international window. I wouldn't like to see a manager coming in the second week, because I don't think that's going to be enough time. I'd like just to see that desire, and that's what it's all about. If wearing that badge, Frankie, and you go on and you look at that, especially at Ibrox, you look at that crowd, 50 plus thousand supporters, all looking down at you, going, "Just give us something today. Give us a win."
Yeah.
And that response, and getting the response back.
I'm the same as you. I want that, but I want us to go back to basics. A right winger playing right winger, left back playing left back. Back to basics when it comes to the players. Look, there's something we've not talked about. It's a guy, Marco Rose, right? And I read a comment from him recently. He says, "My teams, I play the players into what they want to do, not." Or it's words to the effect of, the teams that I play, they play to their strengths, not mine. Like Russell Martin was trying to play as like Pep played 4 years ago. We can't do that. But because Marco Rose he says he's a 4-4-2 guy. But if you look at the teams, he's been 3-4-2-1. You know, all those different formations, because that's the players. That was the strength of the players. That's what I want to see. What players playing the right position and the desire, etc. And the new team bounce, win the first game. That's the most important game. Win that first bloody game. You know, then from then on in, 3 points and up the road.
Yeah, and I'd say, to be fair too, you know, and if they get a manager in, whoever it may be, and as you say, Frank gets his first win, the football's looking good, the supporters will be bouncing again, and that'll then feed in back into the players and stuff, But we do have players that are. I've seen a few comments there. Like we're and we are a soft team, Frankie, aren't we? We're very easy to let other players put us off the pitch, and that's what loses us the games 90% of the time, and it's been a problem for a long time, hasn't it? That we just don't seem to want it. It's as if we just put a Rangers shirt on, and they think, we'll just turn up today because we're Rangers and we'll win. And it doesn't work like that. You have to fight these players every single week. And Frankie, if you remember, especially Walter Smith the second time, and there was loads of times I was watching those matches with my dad and all the guy Baz, and you'd have been going, "Fuck, we're terrible." I weighed a mother. Well, it was crap. But the players, he knew. What I mean is, he won the matches. He always come out with a 2-1 victory or a 3-2 victory, and lifted the trophy at the end of the year. And maybe that's where we've been going wrong. That we don't have that fight and desire in the team.
I know something that you've just triggered me again. I've snapped my other hamstring now thinking on my feet. But somebody said in my page there's been very few injuries, and I wonder if they were told part of the training was don't go all in tackles. Well, they were told not to tackle. Tackle. Boom. I wonder if that was part of the Russell Martin's thinking. Don't go in full on. I can't. The thing is, I can't remember. I'm trying to think about games, but I wonder if that was part of it as well. They were told not to. Don't injure yourself. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
All right. Don't put it all in. Don't risk yourself.
Aye.
But sure, they were good in training. But no offense. That's Russell Martin kept telling us how good we were in training. But if your Rangers strike force is playing against Rangers or Russell Martin's defence, you could look pretty good in training pretty easily, couldn't you? If that was a standard.
But the thing is, they're supposed to work hard in training. I don't need told that. You know what I mean? And the thing is, at times he looked a wee bit unfit as well. But that's one thing with Gerrard, because I remember one of the things he said, these are going to be the fittest player in the league, and they were. Because remember under Graham Murray, man, they were blowing at their backside after 20 minutes.
Yeah.
If you actually remember, Jermaine Defoe actually said when he was at Rangers, he said the gym was that packed. There was a queue to get into it. They were that fit. They were that happy to get into the gym. Jermaine Defoe said it was crazy. You never seen anything like it. And like Jermaine Defoe played, and Frankie, Jermaine Defoe played at the very highest level.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I'm not 100% on board with bringing ex-players in as coaches. I want a coach. Because number one, if Gerrard wants him in, say it's Gerrard. If Gerrard wants him, that's fine. But I don't want any coaches forced upon a play on them. And let's be honest, a new manager or coach, whatever you want to call it, he's not going to accept it anyway. If I'm coming, I want him. I want that physio. I want that doctor. No bother. There you go. How much do they want? That's what we've got to be right now, and we will be.
Yeah, I think you're right. I would say. Well, I was just about to say, I would actually think Defoe must have a goal. His last goal must be probably actually sooner than what Shermatty's is.
Probably. When you put it like that, aye. He might come good. Let's be honest, that boy might come good.
Yeah, he might. And listen, and I hope he does, because all we want is us, Frankie. You're running a page. We're running a page. We're running the podcast. You're running the podcast. We want, we're Rangers fans first. Before even thinking about that, we're Rangers, man. We want Rangers to be winning. We don't want to be sitting here every week or posting every week Russell Martin shite or Rangers this week. And, we want us to win, because if we're winning, and you'll notice on your page and we noticed on ours, there was no better excitement than when the Americans first came in, because everybody was buzzing. The numbers were amazing. Everyone was a great place to be, and it's not been for the last few months, if we're being real honest. But the next guy, and it could give us that kick again, and we could just go right for our play. That was a bit of a blip. Things can happen, and we could be looking back at this and going, "Fuck, that was crazy." But it's very important who they get next. But I just it's a scary thing too, because you don't want to get excited again. Because how many times have we got excited and got our hearts broken? But I think we're looking at that statement today. I've got that wee excitement back that these guys maybe know they've got it wrong, and are going to do something good here.
Yeah, and they don't, like we said, I don't know if we said off screen or on it, they don't want to mess up twice. And what's that saying? Fool me once, fool me twice, thrice, I'm an idiot, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? But Kavanagh will be embarrassed about this, and there's no way he's going to allow his name to be soiled by another failure. He's taking charge here. He said it, and it's very clever when you read back again. That I'll read it when we're finished. When you read back, that's a very cleverly worded statement. And I say those two lads have had quite a subtle public dressing down. I'm in charge now, not you. I do believe Thelwell and Stuart will probably do the interviews, but then he'll present it to the gaffer, Mr. Kavanagh. I think that's. Where's it, Sean Dice? That's quite funny. I've done it.
I swear, Dale's always a cracker in the comments. So, Baz, right, well, 5 minutes to go. Are you, a stupid question, are you a lot more optimistic now than what you would have been even this morning after reading the statement? Does it give you a wee bit of some sort of oomph, should I say?
It was, well, the owners had to come out. They had to come out and address the situation and the reason for it is that the fans are so unhappy with Thelwell and Patrick Stewart. They don't want to listen to them two, and that's the problem. They don't want to hear statements from them two. They want to hear statements from the who's the owners of this club and what are you going to do about it. But we've been calling out for weeks. I done it myself too. With Kavanagh more so, because Kavanagh is the main figurehead at Rangers. Where are you? What are you going to do about this? This has got way out of hand. And when your ex-coach has to get escorted into a car from the pillars, that's bad. That is really toxic. And it shouldn't have got to that point, Frankie. It should never ever have got to that point. That's my problem with it.
No, but it's only 7 league games in.
Yeah.
I was still in the League Cup. There's that. But I do think there was an element of, right, I'll get it right next week. But, again, we'll say Ali said there was 4 games to prove it, and it happened. This is a Netflix movie if we win the league. And if I don't think we'll win the league. I hope the Jambos do if it's not us. But see, if we win the league this year, that's up there with 55. You know what I mean? From such a bad start to lifting that trophy. And the fact that Hearts are doing what they're doing and that Celtic are in they're a bit wobbly, shall we say. This can happen. But like you say, go back to your question, I'm buzzing about this now, and as the night's going on, the podcast is going on, I'm sitting here, this is all right. But I'm nervous as well that you are. It's and I think, for all I've said, Dice is something, you've kind of pushed me away from that. I think they'll go all out for Gerrard now. I'm open to admit I'm wrong, I thought I was all in for thingy this morning, the Australian, but Gerrard give us the bounce that we need.
Well, we're coming sort of towards the end here. As I say, we like to talk about the games, obviously. Well, we don't. We actually normally don't like talking about the games because it's normally crap. But we didn't get talking at all about Falkirk. But listen, we all know the crack with Falkirk. We've seen what happened, there was no point getting into that tonight. But the Russell Martin situation and moving forward, I think that was the main thing. But Frankie, just before we go, if you want to say goodbye to everyone, and also let everyone know how to get onto your pages and your stuff.
The thing is, I don't know my addresses. I'm Rangers now on what's it called, Facebook. That's my kind of main one, So like I said, I looked at it today. I'm at 50 million views since bloody the 1st of January, which is weird. It's actually weird as anything, but the numbers are good. There's a good bunch in there, and I think I don't allow. You can set it up. There's no Celtic fans or Aberdeen fans on there. I set it up to followers only. But thanks for having me on, man. That's been absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed that. I don't normally get nervous before these, but for some reason I was a bit nervous tonight. I think that's just the whole hype of what's happened the last 24 hours. And let's say seconds before we come on here, we got the press release. So Rangers are all right. Shall we say? We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
100%. Well, dear, as I say, glad to have you on. Glad you enjoyed yourself as well.
Yeah,
everyone brilliant. In the comments was enjoying it as well. Baz, what about Frankie? Good guest.
I'd have Frankie on every show. This was brilliant tonight.
You got a bit of a laugh. And the one thing is, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like I say, I was all for, what's his name, Kev Thingy from Australia this morning. I'm now all Gerrard, and I get it. I get it wrong a lot, but just hold your hands up that the gaffers have done. We're in a good place. Again, thank you for having me on. I'll be back anytime you want. I'm away for a few weeks from Thursday, but offshore somewhere. But yeah.
More than welcome, no problem. Baz, do you want to say goodbye to everyone as well then before we head off?
Yes, I'd just like to thank everybody every week that's had to listen to our Russell Martin put downs, and it's been for like 2 months now. So hopefully by the next pod. And by the way, Northern Ireland's playing next week we're back in
Right.
the qualifiers. So we have a couple of
Right.
big games at Windsor Park, and the Northern Ireland boys are doing fantastic. With Stephen Davis is actually in the coaching setup.
Oh, of course.
So yeah, the Northern Ireland's playing. So all the boys that are watching from Northern Ireland, good luck to the boys.
Yeah.
And
We forgot to mention the St Mirren manager,
Robinson.
Robinson. He's a bear, isn't he? He's an Ulster bear, isn't he?
He's from our town here, so he is as well. So comes
Rangers
from
man.
good area. Comes from a good area. Yeah, comes from a good area, Frankie.
I'll leave it at that.
But yes, as I say, listen, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for Frankie for coming on with us as well. We really appreciate that, mate. You're always welcome.
Not a problem.
You know that anyway.
problem.
And I'm glad you've enjoyed yourself.
I
Thank you, everyone.
I might grab you during the week. We could do it in mine. We'll see what happens.
No problem, buddy. No problem. Thank you very much for everyone watching. Well, it was a quite lively show. Thank you for all the new subs as well and everyone commenting. Listen, this show is nothing without you guys coming on and having the chat with us and keeping us going and that's why I like to put up so many comments because we love the banter back and forth with you. We're just the same as everyone else. We're just Rangers men and women, and we're desperate to see our team doing well. And hopefully, listen, there's been mistakes made. There's no doubt about it. We've been pissed off for a few weeks, a few months,
Absolutely.
and rightly so, because we deserve better. But listen, the owners have come out today, open letter, admitted, put their hands up and said they made a mistake. And listen, I think us as a support, we're forgiven that way. If people put their hands up and say we make mistakes, I think as a support, we're very quick to say, you know what, fair play, lads, for doing that. But get the next decision right, please, because listen, we deserve it. But it's been amazing chatting with you as always. Hopefully, when we're chatting with you soon, we'll hopefully got a new manager in, but this time next Monday, and we'll chat about that. So speak to you all again, and we are the people.
We are the